In a few seconds, we will begin with Prarthana, and then we'll go on Gita's discussion after a short meditation. Now the prayer. Om, 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 Om Sahanavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Akhandamandalakaram Vyaptam Yena Characharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurnamilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Deva Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sthavaram Jangamam Vyaptam Yatkinchit Chacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Chinmayam Vyapityatva Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namah Hari Om. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayana Swayam Vyasena Grathitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Amba Tvam Anusandadami Bhagavad Gite Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stuvanti Daivaihi Stavaihi Vedaihi Sangha Padakramopanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Jnana Avastitata Gaten Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidu Sura Suraganaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham tva sarvapapebhyo mokshayishyami ma suchaha. So let's go into a small, short dhyan, and after that we'll begin the Gita. Om. 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 We left last time in chapter 3, Slokas number 20. So we will begin with Sloka 21 today. As I said earlier, that after the completion of the second chapter, and we will move in chapter 3 onwards, the journey would be smooth. There will be a lot of honey drops in that smoothie, and we will, in an enjoying fashion, move on. However, we will detect in that course that Arjunji was always alert. His only attention is in listening to Sri Krishna. The army is forgotten, the war is forgotten, depression is gone, only one pointedness into the Gita, nothing else. Time has stopped. A totally different scenario. The time has stopped. It's not moving. And the attention is only at the Gita's lectures. Whenever we will read Gita or listen to the Gita, I think we will, or we should, or at least we will try to be one-pointedness. That will be tremendous enjoyment. Let's go to stanza 21. There is a good sandhi here. Yad yad means whatsoever. Yad yad acharati sreshtaha. Whatever the best people do. Tat tad means that. So there is yad yad and there is tat tad. Tat tad eva itaraha janaha. Saha yat pramanam kurute lokaha tad anuvartate. Whatever the best people do, they create the standard of their behavior. And the itaraha janaha means rest of the world will follow them. So here he is going to say something about why he has to do something and why he doesn't have to do something. Name parth asti. Name parth asti. Kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchan. There is nothing left for me. Or in other words, I have done everything. Na an avaptam avaptavyam. There is na means not, and then avaptavam, and then avaptavyam. So what is all that thing? Anvaptam means something which is not attained by me. Avaptavyam, something that is still to be attained. So there are two phrases here. Na an avaptavam, avaptavyam varta eva cha karmani. Even though there is nothing that I didn't do, or nothing is left, or nothing I have to do, still varta eva cha karmani. Seventh vibhakti karmani. Still I am acting, still I am working. So he's setting an example, even though I have nothing to do, still I am doing, still I am working, I am not idle. And why he is not idle? He is giving an answer here. Yadi hi ham navarteyam jatu. If ever I am not doing the work that is coming in karmani atandritaha. Tandra means sleep. Atandrita means always alert. Whenever or actively yadi aham navarteyam, if I do not act, what's going to happen? Mama vartmanu vartante manushyaha partha sarvasaha. Then all the people, everybody, the whole world will follow me. They will also not work. So he is kind of giving logically some of the scenarios. Utside yuhu means will perish, will be destroyed. Utside yuhu ime lokaha nakuryam karma ched aham. If I don't do the work, then all this world will perish. Sankarasya chakarta syam upahanyam imaha prajaha. I would be the cause of this chaos, and I stood and I would destroy this world. So there are consequences. He said, I am also working. But then he said, why I am working? If I don't do the work, the people will follow and there would be chaos. And eventually they will perish. Saktaha karmani. There is Sandhi here. Saktaha means attach. Sakta and asakta. There are two words coming every time. Saktaha in what? Attach in what? Karmani avidvan saha. In the action, but who? Avidvan saha means ignorant. Yatha kurvanti bharata. Kuryad vidvan tatha. Asaktaha chikirshuhu. Chikirshuhu means by desiring. Loka sangraham means for the welfare of the people. So what he is saying, there are dual things. The ignorant people are working, but How they are working? Saktaha means with attachment they are working. And how the gnani, the wise people, how do they work? They work with anasakta, means without any attachment. So here we go. As the unenlightened act from attachment, the ignorant people work out of attachment to action, O Bharata. So should the enlightened act without attachment, desirous to guide the multitude. So there are two different things, the gnani and agnani. The agnani would be working out of attachment, and the gnani would be working without any attachment. Na buddhi bedam janayed agnanam. Don't disturb the agnani people, and don't disturb their buddhi either. Means don't go and tell them or advise that, hey, don't do your action this way. And there is a reason coming for that. All this group of stanzas is slowly driving into the nature of Prakriti, where the guns are born. And in order to understand that fact, he is kind of driving this kind of stanzas. Na buddhi bedam janayed agnanam karma sanginam. Look at the word karma sanginam. Who has the sangha of the karma? They are in association. Jopayet sarva karmani vidwan yuktaha samacharan. So he is running parallel thing. The agnanam, and then in the second line there is vidwan yuktaha. So there are two different kinds of working in two different fashions. Let not the wise man disturb the mind of ignorant people attached to karma. By doing persistently and precisely, let the wise induce the others in all activities. So what the wise should do, what the ignorant are doing, is kind of separating the two divisions. And therefore, I think what is happening here, it is kind of triggering in our mind. In which group are we falling? Are we falling in the Vidwan group or the ignorant group? So implicitly, we have to continuously think also with the perspective, keeping ourselves. Where do we stand? And why do we have to do that? The reason is we have so much misconceptions accrued in the mind that while we are reading or studying Gita, we have the opportunity to evaluate ourselves and see how much deviation we possess from the qualities of the Vidwan people. Tremendous opportunity, unbelievable opportunity. There was no such opportunity in our regular schools, but here we do have the opportunity. Now here comes a thunderbolt, very strong, very penetrating stanza. See where we usually go wrong. Prakrute hai This is a seventh vibhakti. Prakruttehe kriyamanani are performed. Prakruttehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha. Let's rearrange this line a little bit. Prakruttehe gunaihi karmani sarvasaha kriyamanani. And now the translation would be easy. The actions with the gunas born in Prakriti, all actions are done. We have to really understand that how the actions are done. Sarvasaha karmani gunaihi. All karmas by guna. Gunaihi is a third vibhakti karak. Karan. In Panini Sanskrit, that is called Karan. In English, it is called instrumental. And in ordinary language, it is called third vibhakti. So many ways to label those things. So the gun which are born in the Prakriti, all the actions are done according to that. Look at this. He's now bringing Prakriti, Guna, etc. in these karma actions. How the actions are carried on, those kind of things. We have to understand, and why we in a couple of stanzas we will see more reasons. Born out of Prakriti, all the actions are done by the gunas. However, now let's go to the second line. Ahankar vimudatma. Deluded by ahankar. The meaning of delusion is really something to be understood here. Delusion appears to be right thing. There is a difference between illusion and delusion. Delusion appears as the right thing. Why people would do otherwise? If they see clearly this is wrong, they would not do that. But no, they are still doing that because they kind of, out of ignorance, they think this is the right thing. That is why it is said, ahankar vimudatma. Vimudatma means deluded. Deluded how? By ahankar. So ahankar is a very bad thing. Ahankar vimudatma karta aham. But by ahankar, the deluded person will believe that karta aham, I am the doer. See, there are two words here, ahankar and aham. They are so much associated with each other. Karta aham iti means etc. It doesn't stop. There is etc. also. Karta aham iti manyate. He believes that I am the doer. and it's a right thing. But he doesn't know that it is coming out of Prakriti, and Prakriti generate gunas. And now here there is the attention to Tattva Vid. Tattva Vid means knower of Tattva. And what is Tattva is a combination of Tad, Tva. And Tva means the quality of Tad. What is the quality of Tad? And who is Tad? Tad is the big self, the Advait, the real one. So Tattva Vid, Vid means knower. Knower of what? Knower of the quality of Tad. Knower of the quality of the Supreme. When we read the Gita, we may hurriedly just say, oh, Tattvavit. Not so. Tattvavid, tu, and tu means but. But Tattvavid, the knower of truth, he Mahabaho, Atmi Vibhakti, Sambodhan. Gunakarma vibhagayoho, guna guneshu vartanti, iti matva na sanjate. But the person who is the knower of the Brahman, the knower of the truth, he will know, or he does know, the divisions of the actions due to the guna, and then the guna with the senses and guna with the sense objects. He knows that. And therefore what he does? Iti matva na sanjate. By knowing this, he is not attached. So in the previous line, we saw that ahankar and all that. But this tattvavid, he is not attached. Prakrute guna sammudaha sanjate guna karmasu. Tan akrutsnavidaha mandan krutsnavid vichalayet. Prakrute guna sammudaha sanjate guna karmasu. Sammuda. That is the persons who are deluded. Again, the delusion coming here. There is the delusion here about what? About the gunas generated or born in the Prakriti. And that's why sammudaha sanjante. Sanjante means they attach. But then what will the gnani should do? That is in the second line. Tan akrutsna vidaha mandan. There are two words here. Akrutsnavidaha. Akrutsnavidaha means who has not achieved perfection, imperfect. I would rather say who has not achieved perfection. Then there is Mandan and Manda. We say many times, oh, his brain doesn't work too well. He's Manda. Mandan means stupid, foolish. Those deluded by the gunas of Prakriti get attached to the functions of the gunas. Sanjate guna karmasu. Attached to the functions of the gunas. The man of perfect knowledge. Where is the perfect knowledge? Krutsna vid. Vid means knower. Krutsna means perfect knowledge. The man of perfect knowledge should not disturb the mediocre whose knowledge is imperfect. So that this is also another, like a lot of people go and like advise, like the birds told the monkeys in the jungle, hey, hey, build some nest like the way we do, so in rain, heat, we can live there. And the monkeys, instead of following the advice, they tore apart their nest also. so, so there is a good advice for the wise people. Hey, don't waste your time. Just do whatever you are doing, you know. Marvelous thing. Further it goes, then what to do? Here is another marvelous something coming. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya. In me, renouncing all the actions. Mayi means in me. Seventh vibhakti. Mayi sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa. How? Adhyatma chetasa. Not an ordinary chetasa. Adhyatma chetasa. Means with the mind centered on the self. Adhyatma means self, and chetasa, chetan is mind. By concentrating the mind in the big self. After doing that, what to do? Nirashir nirmamo. Renounce the hopes, renounce the mamatva, renounce the ownership. Nirashir nirmamaha bhutva yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Remove all the fevers from the mind. Fever is not, it should not be translated as a fever like in Gujarati it says tav આવ્યો. But we also have in Gujarati the phrase, if somebody is not acting in a proper fashion, we say, Su tav આવ્યો છે તને? So tav doesn't necessarily means temperature. Tav means you are out of balance. So hey, bring the balance. That is what he's saying. Ye me matam idam. Ye me matam idam. This is my opinion. Nityam anutishtanti manavaha. And ye me means whoever, Shraddhavantaha, Anasuyantaha, Shraddhavantaha, with the faith. Faith does not bring the total meaning of Shraddha. Faith is a sort of mechanical word. It's not carrying so many internal parts of spirituality. Shraddha. Then Narsi Mehta will sing Kedar Rag with only one line. Hundi Svikaro Maranath. Oh, ho, ho. What a level of Shraddha. Hundi Svikaro Maranath. There are travelers waiting for money in far, far away another town. And here Narsi Mehta with his kartal is saying, Hundi Svikaro Maranatha. That scenario brings the meaning of Shraddha. People complain. We always go with a begging bowl in temple or worship. There is always a begging bowl. There is not the real prarthana almost usually never happen. And then the people come out, oh, I have prayed a lot. Nothing happening. That person doesn't check. There is no Shraddha. That's why. Ye me matam midam nityam anutishtanti manavaha Shraddhavantaha anasuyantaha. Shraddhavanta I said about what is Shraddhavan, but anasuyantaha, who is not cavilling, who is not carping. Munchante te api karma bihi. Oh, what a potent statement here. Muchyante te api karma bihi. Those people become free from the bondage of the actions. Usually when I go through the Gitas, in mathematical theorems, there is always a phrase, what is the necessary and sufficient condition? Necessary and sufficient together will remove all the doubts. And now the statement will come. Once you say necessary and sufficient condition, what will happen or whatever is going to happen is sure 100%. So here there is a statement. Muchyante te api karma bihi. Those people become free from the results of their karma. And how? Ye me matam midam nityam anutishtanti manava. Then they follow my opinion. So whatever he was saying so far about the prakriti, guna, how people do the actions, etc., if people believe me by Shraddha, without carping, they become free from the bondage of the results of the actions. What a marvelous, marvelous, marvelous statement. Who is going to make you free from the results of your actions? But he says, by following me matam idam, following this opinion. This means the past several stanzas. Ye tu etad abhisuyantaha. Now he is also giving the warning. In the previous stanza he said, whoever believes me, what happened? Now he is saying what happened to the other different kind of people. Ye tu etad abhisuyantaha. Na anutishtanti me matam. Na anutishtanti. Do not follow. What do not follow? Me matam. My opinion. Sarvagnan vimudan tan viddhi. Oh, what a statement he is making. Tan viddhi means know them. Know them how? Sarvagnan vimudan means without all the knowledge, no knowledge. Those people who will not believe my opinion, believe them to be totally ignorant. Nashtan achetasaha. Nashtan means ruined. Achetasaha, devoid of discrimination, means they have no discriminating power. So there are what good things happen and what bad things happen. There is all kind of warning going on here. Sadrusham chestate swasyaha prakrutehe gnanavan api. Sadrusham means in accordance. Sadrusham chestate swasyaha prakrutehe gnanavan api. Prakrutim yanti bhutani nigraha kim karishyati. This is also another marvelous. He is coming to an end almost of all this prakriti and guna kind of thing. And what he is saying here is even a wise man behaves in conformity with his own nature. Beings follow nature. What shall restraint do? So this is the culmination of all these previous stanza, that wise men or the regular people, they do the actions out of their own nature. And so the end sentence is, what will this restraint means do this or that? What is that going to do? And again, he is bringing the sense and sense objects business. There are 2 times sya in the first line, which is the 6th vibhakti of relationship. Indriyasya, 6th vibhakti. Indriyasya arthe. See, there are 2 times. And he is saying of the indriyas, of the senses, and again of the senses. So, of what? There are two times senses, of senses, of senses. So there should be some connection. Let me rearrange a little bit. Indriyasya arthe. In the objects of the senses. Indriyasya arthe. Indriyasya ragadveshau vyavasthitau. So now the translation is easy. In the objects of the senses, attraction and repulsions of the senses are very well settled. Sometimes Sanskrit appears to be very heavy duty though. And for a beginner, that becomes the biggest obstacle as well as discouragement. But by little patience and by separating the parts, and what are the parts in sentence? Subject, verb, adjectives, adverbs. And that's about all a sentence has. And where are these? How do we know subject? If it appears in the first vibhakti, it is subject. If it appears in another row, it has that corresponding meaning. For example, here there is indriyasya, means of indriya, of indriya. Ragadveshau, we are so much used to doing the Sunday and then there is Sunil Bhai was here, but looked like he's gone. He would have asked me, Amrit Bhai, ani sandhi jara karoni. Ragadveshau. There is rag and there is dvesha, there is no sandhi. And when there is no sandhi, without sandhi, if the two or more words combine, that is called samas. I have not touched that samas anywhere yet because you don't know anything about that. Ragadveshau is a seventh vibhakti of rag and dvesha. It is a dvigu samas. The name of that samas is dvigu. Vyavasthitau is Visheshan. Visheshan of what? Ragadvesha. Whatever vibhakti Ragadvesha is possessing, that is the vibhakti the Visheshan would have. That is why it is Vyavasthitau Ragadvesha. Very well settled in Rag and Dvesha. Who is very well settled in Rag and Dvesha? They are settled in these senses. So what is then the second line is a strong warning coming. Tayoho na vasham agachet. હું ગુજરાતીમાં બોલવાનો છું. તેના વશમાં નહીં આવવાનું. This is a Surti Gujarati. તયોઃ ન વશમ આગચ્છેત. તેના વશમાં નહીં આવવાનું. Don't come under their control. Why? તૌ હિ અસ્ય પરિપંથિનૌ. તે જ એના દુશ્મન છે. Because they are his enemies. Paripanthino, enemies. So જે ઇન્દ્રિયસ્ય અર્થે રાગદ્વેષ વ્યવસ્થિતો તયો ન વશમ આગચ્છેત યસ્ય પરિપંથિનો. Attachment and aversions of the senses for the respective objects are natural. Let none come under their domination. They are verily his enemies. I will read stanza number 35, or probably will complete that also. Shreyan swadharmah vigunah paradharmatsu anutishtat swadharme nidhanam shreyah paradharmah bhayavah. It's a very simple thing. It says, one's own dharma, even though it is imperfect, is better than the dharma of another well discharged. Better death in one's own dharma. The dharma of another is full of fear. So he is also warning, hey, just stick to your own dharma. Don't try to take over another person's dharma. And I will just read, but I will not go over. If Arjunji was not there, Gita would not probably have gone up to 700 stanza. We so far didn't have this question occurred in our mind, but look at what he's going to ask now. Athakena prayoktoyam papam charati purusha. Then what is propelling the man to commit sin? Anichan api. Even there is no such desire. Anichan api Varsneya. Varsneya is Krishna's name. Balad iva niyojitaha. Without desire, by force, the person is pushed into this, into committing sin. Why that happen? So we will leave at stanza number 36. And we will continue from stanza number 36 next time. We had you might have noticed that sometime we only do 2 stanzas. Sometime we have a good ride. And there is smoothie also with honey drops, so we move a little easily. But if there is any question, and I have also allowed you to ask me in the middle of our talk, that's okay. I'm not disturbed by that. You can ask at the end, or you can ask in the middle and stop me. Hey, stop here. I have a question. That's fine. And I think we are all learning interactively here. don't be under illusion that I am teaching. Actually, by your questions, I also learn a whole lot. I still have to learn a whole lot. That is for sure. I have been like this learning process. That is why I don't like to put the label that I was a shikshak. I would rather say I'm still student learning, and let me please learn. The way I speak here, usually when I will go to sleep, after 4 hours, I will wake up. And some of the stanzas will run through my mind just without doing anything. And I will only do something like this. Oh, really? How so? Oh, no. Come on. Like that. And in the morning, I would be so fresh. And this habit was formed when I was in my undergraduate mathematics major. I never had a piece of paper and pencil and solve the problems, mathematics problems. No, never. I would just read the problem and ask the question that, oh, is it solvable or not solvable? And if it is not solvable, I would just think about a little bit. And if it is still not solvable, I would go to sleep with a piece of paper under my pillow. About 2 o'clock, I would wake up and write down a couple of hints because the hints came and I would write down on that piece of paper. That would happen like once in a 6 month time period. So there were not too many pieces of paper. And that piece of paper is hardly 1 inch long. Anyhow, what I'm saying is please, 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 by asking the question, give me also some opportunity to learn from you. Let's reciprocate instead of just making one-way street. Okay, so go ahead, Sanat Bhai, what do you have?
Well, at the beginning of today's talk, you said that you referred to the zero time.
Right.
Now that as I understood, that's something that you have to explain. If what I understood, the zero time happened between Arjun and Sri Krishna. Is that correct? The question came up because if Arjun and Krishna had a zero time between them while the teaching was going on,
Right.
how did the Kauravas feel about that zero time? What did they feel? What did they experience? What did they do?
We want to go over that. I want to give you, and this was question of Chandrakant Bhai also. I'm not torturing you all, but there is a formula here. And I wanted to give you, and I will give that formula to you, which has a factor v square over c square. V is the velocity of object, and c is the velocity of light. All the work of Einstein was not three-dimensional, it was four-dimensional. The time factor was there. Let me give one example. There are a lot of galaxies and everything revolves. Nothing is steady. Suppose there is a galaxy and there is no need for supposition because in infinite universe, there is always possibility. In another galaxy, there is a different speed relative to your galaxy. And according to this factor v square over c square, it will control the time. Okay, so you say you are spending 1 hour here. It's the same 1 hour, but over there in another galaxy, that going from 11 to 12 o'clock, the perception that it has taken certain time, that process of going from one point to another in another galaxy would be so much slowed down, almost zero. If you take a spacecraft and go live there, and you say you are living 50 years here, you would have lived there only 1 hour. So you have not grown. Now this is physics. And the reason of holding is I want to bring more characteristic of Krishna. I have said about 2 or 3 things so far about shrinking the infinite space, about removing the gravity, about shortening the time, etc. But I want to make us all as much familiar with Sri Krishna. We just perceive as a human being, the 2 legs, 2 hands. We want to bring more of his and the problem is that Advaita is anirdeshyam, nanirdeshyam, anirdeshyam, achintyam, avyaktam. So someone possessing these qualities, how are we going to know? But we will try as much as we can, the human limited mind. And that's why I'm holding this thing. I'm just holding this question. I'm just giving you the physics example that in one galaxy, it may be 1 hour, another galaxy, it may be 50 years. And if that is the reality in physics, what could not be the reality in Sri Krishna's presence? We have to reach certain understanding, at least however finite it may be. So please hold on right there. Yes, Deepak.
Just I am trying to support. Say, life of butterflies is 24 hours, and life of a man is 100 years. Man lives 100 years, butterflies live 24 hours according. But however, in 24 hours, it gets everything: childhood, yuvani, oldness, marriage, everything like that. Are you going to that direction regarding that?
Not at all.
Yes, that
Not at
okay.
all. Because because the time scales are the same for butterfly and human being.
Yes,
The scale is the same, but what I'm talking about, the scale is change.
agree.
Scale. So in reality, it is 50 years there. It is not compared to human beings' time and the butterfly's time.
Yes, yes.
It is the standard is the same.
I was
Standard change, you
I
know.
was little bit reluctant. That's why I have asked the question.
And let me add, after Michelson and Morley performed the experiment, it took about 200 years until Einstein came. And when he explained this concept, which I'm talking about, the standard is change, when he tried to explain, there were hardly 5 scientists. And I'm using the phrase hardly. Hardly means they were skeptical. Hardly 5 scientists who grasped what he was saying. Unbelievable. But there is the concept he brought, and according to that concept, with the grade of 8th grade algebra, Lorenz, the scientist before Einstein in Germany, Lorenz developed the Lorentz transformations, and Einstein used them. So one of the big scientists in England, because England and Germany were always in competition, they made a big noise that Einstein really, substance-wise, didn't do anything. He has used the Lorentz transformation and came up with this theorem. But if Einstein was not genuine, and if he just did something hocus pocus, somebody else would have also done much before him.
Exactly.
So just let's think rationally about this. But I'm going to bring that one little formula and give you, and you will go home and piece of paper, you will change the variable and see how the time standard changes, you know. It's very interesting to really know that type of thing. So that's about all. Second question.
Well, it is not a question, but I'm reminded of what you just said about the difference in the time scale and what may be 50 or 500 years here, maybe a few minutes in another galaxy.
Right.
This idea is very beautifully illustrated in a film that many of us might have seen that came out about 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
Called, um, Odyssey, what was the title?
2000 Odyssey 2000.
Odyssey 2000 Odyssey or Odyssey 2000.
I have
Yeah.
seen say a
Yeah.
few times.
In that film,
Yeah.
there is a scientist and one or two of his associates traveling
Yeah.
from Earth towards another galaxy. And towards the end of the film, those two travelers that are hundreds of billions of miles away from Earth where they started, when they were about maybe say 40, 50 years old, towards the end of the film, they were like infants.
Right.
So what you
There
say?
was also one another Back to Future, Michael J. Fox movie.
Right. Okay.
That is also a very similar kind of thing. But nowadays, there is not a surprise because even the high school people study that part of theory of relativity. So
Right.
not much of a thrilling experience, however, reading or discussing 700 stanza that puzzle everybody that, hey, those armies, Bhishma and Duryodhan were patient to stay several days, so that triggered this explanation.
Right.
The explanation is valid. However, without understanding some of more qualities of Sri Krishna, I do not want to jump into that physics part. I'm giving some hint kind of thing. However,
Right.
I have not completed the whole thing. So please be patient.
Yeah, I understood. But the
Yeah,
reason I mentioned this 2000 Space Odyssey was just because I now understand from what you said, or after you said,
right.
why that man starting from the earth became like a little child out in the next galaxy.
Yeah, right,
That was a very good explanation. Thank you.
right. But actually, in reading the Gita for about last 60 some years, I haven't encountered anyone who raised this question that what did the army do while these two people were spending after 700 stanzas, No Gita that I have gone through went into that type of question. So anyhow, it just occurred to me, and that's why I'm bringing, and I hope you may be getting a little thrill out of that. Okay, one more question, and then we will go to Pratna and wrap up this session. No question?
अमृत भाई
Yeah?
चंद्रकांत बोलू छूं
Yeah.
what how long did it take Arjuna and Bhagwan Shri Krishna in our current time to narrate that go through the whole Bhagavad Gita? Do you think it was, because that may be relevant to the question that you're raising as to what did the armies do during that time period?
Right. The time we do not know their speed of speaking, speed of understanding, whether we were drinking water or some juice while they were talking. We don't know all those other factors, So I would not just dare to make my own conjecture, Definitely one thing is sure that there was some time spent, whatever time they needed to go over with a full understanding, plus the Vishwaswarup Darshan will come, in between. Doing all that business, whatever time was needed, they took it without any restriction. At least that much we know. Enough, Chandrakant Bhai?
Yeah, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. I think I will go to the prayer now. If anybody has question, can follow up next time. And after this prayer, please, the Sanskrit group stay a few more minutes. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukha Bhag Bhave Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormamrutam Gamaya Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om Om. So our Gita session is over, and those who are desirous to learn any Sanskrit, please